Wait, so have you been on many like rural? Have you like worked in many like rural clinics or had much rural experience? Yeah.
No, I have a grand total of zero rural experience. Of course, I don't know if you guys have talked about it on this esteemed show before, but I did my rural like my little write up last year.
Oh,
But in terms of
Yeah.
actually like seeing patients in a rural setting, witnessing the healthcare system in a rural setting, not really. Sort of the most I have of it is you know, family and friends who are in rural areas, and I sort of understand it by proxy, but I certainly haven't actually like been there hands on deck.
yeah, that's fair.
Do you guys want to get like sort of rural experience during medical school or like your early junior doctor years?
I think that would be like, oh, are you asking like either or just in general?
Well, in general, yeah. Like, do you want to go to the countryside or no?
I feel like it would be a good experience, like just getting out there and seeing like what we take. Because you're saying that when we go into the actual medical system, we should it'll be like confronting to see all the stuff that we take for granted, right? But I feel like going into like a rural setting, it's gonna hit us in the face even uh
Even harder.
even stronger, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, wow, like they're probably resource poor, but they're making do, and a lot of the time they are doing quite well despite their obvious like limitations being far away
Yeah.
from.
Like I felt like I was in the first half of this, I felt like I was talking a bit sort of doom and gloom about the I guess difficult realities in the medical system.
Yeah.
But I do think that not I'm not like I don't have much more experience than you guys, but my strong impression of it is that once you do get out to sort of, let's say, more vulnerable communities or even just places where, there's not as many resources available for you as like a medical practitioner, that although it is difficult and daunting, maybe confronting, it's the best place to sort of realize that there are really important benefits that you can bring to individuals, to communities, and of course, that is a microcosm of society at large. Because if you are the only doctor in a sort of 15-kilometer radius, right? The amount of the impact you have on people's lives is really tangible. That's the difference between someone's having completely like untreated heart failure, right? Versus them having like a plan to give them back the function that they would otherwise be at risk of losing.
Yeah,
And I
for sure.
think that like, if you're in just a big system, it's sort of maybe you feel like a bit of a cog, if I wasn't doing this, someone else will be doing it. But once you start to like really have a situation where you can isolate your impact, then I think that's I I'm I say this all sort of from imagination, but I figure that it must be like sort of a good reminder of like the responsibilities that you have and also like the benefits that you can bring. It's good karma, I reckon.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, when you say it so matter of fact, it seems like it seems true. It seems true. But I think we also did have a question. It's a bit of a jump, but we know that last year there was a certain assignment that a lot of medical students did not particularly enjoy doing.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the cultural safety assignment, I believe. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, well, I suppose I can speak pretty frankly, I think, because I doubt whoever's reviewing your professionalism portfolio is getting to the 40-minute mark of the podcast, to be truthful.
They are.
No.
If they are, then hi, great to have you here. Look, it was a strange situation, and my truthful opinion is that the assignment was like completely fine, and I think it was perfectly fun and sort of as rewarding as I expected it to be, to basically write out like a reflection on like one of the questions in it was just basically, why do you want to be a doctor? And like do you think that sort of aspects of your background play into that? And of course everyone has their own individual reasons, and those individual reasons are to at least some extent influenced by the environment around them, right? Like, you know, what prompts you to see this? You know, is it like some anyhow? I think it was just a marking situation that drew up the controversy because it was many people, more or less based on like the way the ECP worked, had failed the entire year before Cat 1.
Wow.
Okay. That's
And my suspicion is that it's a new medical program, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if everyone who was involved in the marking entirely realized that if you gave out like a certain number of, you know, needs improvement criteria, that you had locked someone out of making it through first year medicine.
cool. That's insane.
But you know, it's just it's sort of, you know, we live in a world where needs improvement means like a fail, more or less. And so I think it was just that kind of miscommunication that then sort of you know, led to the whole thing getting escalated up. You know, there's a lot of sort of like nitty-gritty details of it that are not hugely interesting. On the whole, I had fun writing it. I had less fun getting my mark back. That was all.
Yeah.
But I don't
sometimes
mind
it's
having. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I don't mind having done it just as like a, you know, an exercise in itself. You're not in med school for like, you know, marks, right? That's why we don't have GPAs anymore. And on the whole, I'd say, yeah, I did learn.
Yeah, because I was looking at the I was reading one of the articles which was quite sensational about the
The Daily Mail.
yeah. I mean, of course it is, right? It's probably pile of garbage, right? But and I was looking at the question. I'm like, this question seems perfectly fine. I was telling you, right, Raven? I was like,
Yeah.
this question looks perfectly fine to me. Why are they like going on about it like it's like the second coming of I don't know, devil? But yeah, it's good to have that perspective from you, Ulrich. I've definitely had situations, especially in English, where I had like a lot of fun writing the assignment. You know, I was like, yeah, this is so good, and then I get my marks back, and I'm like, well, you know. But yeah, good to have that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, your goal in med school, I suppose, is not to be like the king of medical students. It's to become a, you know, hopefully a mostly competent doctor, you know?
Yeah.
Which is just to say that your goal should never be like absolutely maxing out your CAT scores. It should be to, you know, learn the stuff that, of course, is going to have a bearing on your practice. You know, your goal is to like learn pathology, for example, right? Not to get the pathology questions right on the exam, but to get the pathology correct in real life.
Mm.
And it's just that the best proxy a med school can grade you by is obviously like, you know, on paper exam questions, even though that's sort of like one level detached from the real significance of it.
Yeah.
Do you find med school, like, for you two, gets sort of I don't know, are you sort of coping, in broadly speaking, or like is it, I suppose, like, is it stressful is probably like a question that gets answered yes sort of by default, but like, do you find you can like manage the demands of it?
Would you like to go first, Brendan, or would you like
Oh.
me to go first?
I mean, I don't mind answering, but I'm sure you have something interesting to say, Rick.
I'm not sure how interesting this may be, but so the question was like, am I able to meet the demands of it? Is that
Or maybe more interesting is like, what parts do you find you're able to manage well? What parts are you not able to manage so well?
okay? So I think that a lot of the content is able to be understood. Like, there's a lot of content, I won't hide that, but I do think if it's taught well, it can be understood like immediately when taught, and then that helps in understanding the concepts and mechanisms behind functions of particular organs and systems. However, I think that sorry, what was your question again?
in what ways or in what parts do you find you're able to manage well, and what parts like give you grief?
Okay, well, something that gives me grief, like, something especially recently happened, like a couple days ago, was I was practicing for the OSCE that's coming up at the end of this month with Brendan and another one of our friends or classmates, right? Shout out to Yo-Yo. And we spent 1 hour going through one gastrointestinal examination, which should have taken about 6 to 8 minutes because there was a lot of variation in the techniques that were taught between us. Like we're in 3 separate classes, and that means we have 3 different tutors that have different advice, right? There's variation between the teachers. And while you can't avoid that, and it's probably beneficial because you get a more rounded point of view from everyone's perspective, it is a point of grief, as you are phrasing it. Like, it definitely gave us some grief when trying to figure out whose technique or what technique should be used for each of the parts of the gastrointestinal examination.
Look, I'll give you a very boring and utilitarian answer, which is that OSCEs they're around for, you're gonna keep doing them even as like you try and specialize, right?
Yeah.
You more or less just do what the textbook says, and it will. That's like kind of your best bet. If your fingers look funny when you percuss, that's a good way to like get like a weird sort of a comment on your feedback, like a revised percussion technique or something like that. But even if like realistically you were hearing everything fine from it, if you just did it in a way that's sort of like not proper, it would get called out. Which is just to say that OSCE operates in textbook land, whereas once you start to see people, even like, I'm not talking like even just GP setting, but like, you're going around the wards in a hospital, you will see consultants like, doing, let's say, let me listen to your chest quickly. That realistically, they just listen to the back most of the time, not even the front.
Oh.
Unless there's like something particularly interesting on the front. But of course, if you skipped auscultation of the front chest on your OSCE, that lands you in trouble. And so I think, just coming with the point of view that OSCE is like where you're trying to do everything as like complete and correct as possible.
Yeah.
And then it's in the real world when you're under like, you got to see like on some busy day, you got to do like 20 patients in like, a few hours. That's when you sort of just like also have to have the understanding of like, what are the parts of this that are really like important or pertinent to like what I'm after, which I suppose is then like almost like a deeper level of understanding, right? Because it's not just what's the gastro exam start to finish, you've memorized like the little sort of cheat sheet that UQ gives you, but more like, what do you actually like, what's the value of each of these steps, what's the significance? And then if I'm interested in this aspect and this aspect, but less so that aspect and that aspect for some certain patient, then which parts do you pick and choose?
Yeah, I feel like our tutors also like talk about this as well. They always go like, oh, in the real world I wouldn't do this, or I would do this instead, but this will fail you not. This will make you fail off, so don't do it. So I get what you.
Yeah, and it's not just like a sort of first year is classroom kind of thing. It's OSCEs will follow you around forever and ever, like I said. So, even like you're sort of pretty like switched on registrars, right? Much more switched on than us. We'll still sort of have like be in two minds when it comes to it. Like one is like the exam you're actually doing in real life. The other one is in like OSCE mode, where you sort of you narrate like every single thing you're doing to the patient, and you sort of go through every procedure like super thoroughly and do your hand hygiene like 15 times.
Fair. Yeah, but also going back to your question about like what I find like stressful, or in what I'm, I guess, not finding as stressful in my year. I'm thinking that kind of, I mean, this is the big topic, but like time management, right?
Yeah.
Time management is kind of hard. And also going back to yesterday's night, they were talking about placing big balls in vases. Where the
Big balls.
Yeah, big balls. The guy was like, you need to pick and choose which balls you put in the vase. Like your big balls are like the big priorities in life that you want to occupy your vase, right? And then the small balls are like the little
This
things.
is one of the professors of UQ, just so you know.
He was
I-
like
Professor Reed.
the military doctor guy, you know. But yeah,
Please.
yeah. So he was talking about that, and I think, and he was talking about how there's no work-life balance in there. Like this, it's a myth. Basically, you just pick the things that you want to sacrifice, and there are just periods in your life where you're just more focused on this thing, and you don't really have much time for other stuff. And I think that's kind of what's been happening with me. It's like sometimes there's like periods where I'm just focused on like, oh yeah, study time, right? Like for the cats, or if I'm behind on stuff. And there's some weeks where I'm just throwing like not everything, but like most stuff out of the way. Like, oh, I can do it, just so then I can, enjoy hanging out, or engaging in certain hobbies, or playing some sport. So yeah, I wonder what your take on this is, Taurus.
Okay. It's interesting, and I think that it's something that you can't like sort of fix, but more like you can I guess like take steps to make it less of a problem, right? Like, if obviously if like it makes sense to let's say give up certain things before you give up other things, right? Because that'll have less of an impact on like your quality of life. That's sort of obvious, but it does come to a certain point where being a medical student, and then probably more so being a doctor, is like not always like this perfectly sort of comfortable existence. Like let's backtrack. I reckon like the vast majority of the continuum of human existence is filled with outright suffering and deprivation. Yeah.
Is this the philosophy coming in?
No. This is just like I had a dream one night that I was like a peasant farmer in like the 1400s and died of like tuberculosis or something.
That's crazy.
And it was pretty sad. It's just to say that like, I don't think life is ever going to be particularly easy for, frankly, that many people. I don't even think doctors have it strictly worse than, bricklayers, because, it's all sort of like a give and take for the most part, with, maybe the rare exception of you're a professional like lottery winner. Maybe that's pretty easy.
The money has its own set of problems, I suppose.
But I think it's again just going back to like being careful around this like sense of entitlement. You'll see are you guys familiar with the subreddit Oz JR Docs or something? Is Australian junior doctors. Look, I reckon it's
come across it.
I reckon it's a bit of a cesspit, because that whole like it's full of some well-meaning people, but there's a lot of sort of, I'm an intern, why am I being made to work more than 38 hours? I hate this, as if like they've had like some human right of theirs violated. And I think that like when you come into it from like the perspective of like, oh, it's my vocation, I'm almost like sort of entitled by fate to become a this certain specialty and have a great work-life balance, and I'm gonna have like 3 children who all love me and respect me a lot as their dad who makes like a lot of money. It's a dangerous mindset to be in, right? Versus like, you're a person who's being invested into very heavily by the Australian university system to teach you, and indeed by like existing professionals, right, who for the most part are not compensated for the time they spend teaching you. You're being invested into very heavily to develop like a specific skill set that not many people in society have, but is like absolutely necessary. And like knowing like how much sort of weight has been thrown behind you from the onset, you would think that like it's sort of a bit it's a bit like naive to think that you can just like get away with only exercising those skills you learn for 38 hours a week, right? And being able to like go and like watch anime in your spare time, you know, get drunk every night, so on and so forth. And so like there definitely is a big aspect of compromise, and you have to, yeah, you do have to get ready to be disappointed in a certain way. But I feel like if you want to be a doctor who like, you know, is proud of what they do, or like, you know, genuinely like appreciates the importance of what this job can bring, not just to yourself but to others, you know, suck it up. Which is not to say that like you know, it's gonna be miserable and you should, you know, not let yourself feel bad about it, but it's probably not going to go away. And I think the best relationship you can have with it is to come to terms with the fact that it's not always going to be easy, but that hopefully at least it's going to be worthwhile, if that makes sense.
Like, you know, we may have stumbled into this job for, you know, a variety of reasons, but if we can't learn to, I guess, understand the real goal behind our journey, then we'll never. So the real goal isn't like art, like income, like stable working job, like you said, like being worshipped as like some sort of, like yes, the coming of the neurosurgeon who will, I guess, be paid well and have good work-life balance and great loving family, but rather as like public servants who have responsibilities to fill, right?
Yeah, like I don't want to make like a comparison to like it, you know, it's like being in the army or something because you're like a public servant in that same way, but you know, it's to say that you're not just here for yourself, or you know, you're definitely like operating with responsibilities and with obligations, and that, you know, meeting them is not always going to be easy, but at least you get paid well for it, so, you know, it could be worse. There are definitely people out there who do things that are arguably just as important, just as difficult, and can't expect to make $500,000 a year. And so all things considered, you know, I think it's fine. You know, you could have been a like a dirt farmer in the year 1400, and by the balance of probabilities, you probably would have been. So I think, you know, it's almost like you take a step back and like, not even just like not even just like from the sort of perspective of like, you know, an aspiring young 20-something professional in Australia, but just in like the sort of, you know, it's good to be able to remind yourself that like, you know, life is good on like some kind of foundational level, you know, beyond like the stresses of sort of like, I've got an exam on the weekend.
Yeah.
Holy shit, am I gonna pass?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've experienced that feeling many times, but it is good to remind ourselves that.
What's your guys' favorite fruit?
Favorite fruit, huh? I just like nectarine.
You can say tomatoes,
Well, yeah, but then I feel like tomatoes aren't really like a fruit.
but
I mean,
so
I'm
you're
sorry.
saying they're the best vegetable that isn't a vegetable.
Well, maybe like the competition, like the field is like a bit tougher in fruit, you know?
I agree. It's like tomatoes aren't sweet, you know? Right? I
Are
guess
they
it depends
not?
on the tomato. Well, no sweet is a nectarine.
Oh, okay.
Ray, what's your favorite fruit?
I guess historically it would have been like the pineapple, because I had pineapple.
Historically,
I'm
in-
like
in
a pineapple and
200
pizza
AD.
guy, you know?
but
I
what about
kind of
that?
like, huh?
Oh wait, oh no, go.
I was just gonna say my favorite fruit.
Oh yeah.
I like, it's like such a silly answer, but I really like dragon fruits.
Oh
Well,
wait.
The trouble is that I'll never buy them because like they're really expensive and they don't taste like much.
Yeah.
But I feel like if
that-
in a world where dragon fruits were like apple priced, or like one appeared for free in front of me, I think they have like a really nice mellow flavor. I don't care for the fact that they like look so like funky, you know, like there's like a prestige kind of item, you
Mm.
know? Like, wow, look at this, I brought a dragon fruit home. But like I actually reckon it's like really tasty.
They are nice. Like my grandma, or like you gotta get yourself a grandma who grows them. My
Oh, then
grandma
they do
grows-
it. Then they do appear in front of you for free.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. I sometimes just like have a bunch home. It's like, oh wow, so nice. You know. Have you tried red dragon fruit?
What?
Because the flesh is normally like kind of grayish, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's
But
also
are these
red
are these
dragon.
ones red?
Yeah, the flesh is red.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, you know, if you can get your hands on one, it's interesting because they're actually sweeter than, it's like normal dragon fruit, which is like a little, like you said, like mellow flavor. It's not like super sweet.
It's
right?
not worth buying it because it's like it's sort of, you know what I mean? Like I feel like if I was
Yeah.
buying like a $5 fruit, it's got to be like you know, something that's like
Durian.
knocks me off my feet. But like
Yeah.
dragon fruit's just like, you know, subdued and pleasant.
That's fair. But yeah, check out red dragon fruit again.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
sweeter.
I guess I gotta do that. Put that on my shopping list.
Well, you don't have to. It's probably expensive, but yeah. But I think we do have one other question, which is, what opportunities would you recommend for us to take in the second year?
Opportunities. I'm trying to think what opportunities I had because I probably didn't take all of them.
Or things that you regret, you know, not doing.
Look, I can't. I don't think I can like list out particulars. It's not like so easy. It's not just like kind of like, you know, like, oh, I wish I went on exchange or something. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there's not like a sort of binary kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
Where you like get presented with a chance and you either take it or you don't. But it's more like, just like be sort of ready and eager for things as much as you can. So like from my point of view, for example, I'm working like maybe roughly like 30 hours a week. So like it's a bit tough to sort of negotiate like my schedule. But there are definitely times when like I rock up to like a class and it's sort of, you know, like I rock up to like, let's say a placement and it's like, you know, on paper, I don't have like a sort of any like assessment attached to this like super directly. It's not like I'm sort of rocking up to a cat without having slept. That could be like maybe ill-advised, but you know, you rock up to like a placement. It's like, okay, you can tick off your attendance and like, you know, you don't actually really have to do anything once you're there. That's great. But on the whole, it's just, I think you benefit from being like just ready to learn from the things that sort of spontaneously crop up and you don't necessarily you know, come in expecting. So again, like I was talking about way earlier, it's not necessarily as structured when you're just like out there on placements, right? You might see something really novel, something really interesting. It helps if you're, you know, in the state of mind or like have the necessary background knowledge to then sort of, you know, engage with that, learn with that properly when that chance is presented to you. That's just to say, you know, rock up to your placements with, you know, enough caffeine in your system, enough hours of sleep.
Yeah.
You know, eat a healthy, nutritious breakfast. You know, brush your teeth every night. Yeah.
Make sure to eat veggies. I'm looking at you, Raymond.
Hey, okay, my sleep has definitely been improving this year. Okay, I can say that I have a human number of hours of sleep, and I'm very proud of that. And I feel like a lot of my habits have been changing for the better. So I think I can say that I'm becoming more prepared to take on these micro opportunities, I think.
Yeah, see, it's good because you learn without realizing to some extent, right? It's not just like, you know, like you learn like the factoid that's written on the slide, but more like you show up to your placement, you see like in what like actual real world circumstances drug A gets prescribed over drug B, right?
Yeah.
And ideally you're sort of not like, you know, asleep on the job when that thing happens, right? And you sort of, you know, obviously you take that in, you process it. That's sort of then part of like your invisible background knowledge from then on.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Which is to
Yes,
say, it's less sort of like a goal of, you know, I need to like memorize what Suja says in the pathology lectures, but also like, you know, just sort of you benefit tremendously, not just from sort of like having these like really strict goals, but also just from having like generally like an outlook of like being eager to learn, take opportunities, so on.
Growth mindset. So true.
Growth mindset, yeah.
I guess it's like all these things that they're telling us right now. It seems like, oh yeah, this seems like so abstract. How are we gonna apply it? But it is actually very
Yeah.
important to figure out.
I mean, like I had a question on like Cat 1 or something last year, or something like it was like, you know, John. I can't remember what he was doing, but he was doing something like really growthful. And it's like, what sort of mindset is he using right now? And it was like, you know, positive mindset, you know, like
I think
what
I
it-
saw that in the peer shoot.
yeah, something like some like absolute crap, right? And it's like, okay, of course the correct answer is growth mindset.
Yeah.
But like, you know, what does that look like realistically? Like obviously it's kind of a silly, slightly silly kind of thing to encounter on your cat, but in real life it just looks like, you know, as much as like you're a, you know, your sort of job description for the moment is medical student, just make sure like you're a functional human being, and that will sort of invisibly play a big role in making you a better medical student, I think.
So taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time tonight. I hope you've learned as much from us as we've learned from you. I think we can agree that we've learned a lot today.
I really loved our discussion about the fruits and vegetables. I think that was
Yep.
that was quite wholesome.
That's true. Wait, I don't think we. What was your favorite vegetable? Did we go for that?
Me, it's kind of hard because like I don't love picking one favorite because there's so many categories, right? Like, you know, let's say I picked like potatoes,
Is
but
that
it's
a
not like it's a root vegetable, right?
I guess.
But then
I guess-
like I picked like a root vegetable, right? But it's not like I like kind of want to erase the existence of like anything that's not a root vegetable. You know, I've still got like a place in my heart for like leafy greens, right? If I had to pick one vegetable, it's cabbage.
Cabbage. Oh yeah. I'm. That's a good choice. Good choice.
Thanks, man.
Respect it.
Darn, that's a good choice. I should pick that. Cabbage's so versatile and tastes so good. But anyway, yeah, no, it was really great hearing from you, Ulrich. You're very well articulated. I guess it's a bit of the philosophy, you know, ivory tower shenanigans shining through. But yeah, I guess you're worthy. I guess not replacement, but
Dan, you are a very worthy replacement of. Let's not talk about him. You're a very worthy replacement in general.
Look, there's no other Zoom call I'd rather be in on a 11 p.m. Saturday night. So happy to be here, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you
And
like to
happy
do
that-
the wrap up?
Oh, true.
Yeah.
You know, tell them to like and subscribe and everything. You know.
Me?
Yeah. You know, this is your honor as a special guest. You get to tell our audience like whatever you want. You know, plug your socials, your SoundCloud, whatever you want. You know?
Oh my, I can't plug the Dota team. That's like,
Why not?
I think that's like that's
That was a-
dangerous.
That was a legendary period, I think. That's
The
how we
Dota-
first met.
Plugging the Dota team is dangerous. There's like some sort of not like, it's like incriminating. Yeah,
Oh.
guys, like and subscribe. What's this podcast called?
Misfits podcast.
The Misfits podcast.
Smash the notification bell.
Yeah. You know, I'm hoping you guys can look, if med school doesn't work out, I hope you guys can become like professional podcasters. I'm sure you'll be great at it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.